I'd like to tell you how the city was built, because that's pretty remarkable. We were saying the city is built on muddy islands. Muddy islands, so the soil is soft. So first of all, you have to consolidate it. You need to make a soft, muddy soil more compact. And there's just one way to do it. Now, once you see some images, it's easier to get this. Now, well, probably you can come a little bit closer. What you see here is a palace overlooking a canal. So you see a palace up here overlooking a canal, like so many we have seen during our walk. In order to consolidate the muddy soil, many wooden poles, like these ones, see, or here, many wooden poles, like the ones we see here, were driven into the mud, typically, but not always, till they reached a layer of hard clay, which we see represented here in dark gray. In Italian, this layer of compacted clay is called caranto. So there is no bedrock, properly speaking, but there is this layer of hard clay called caranto. Topping the wooden poles, we would see a sort of timber platform. The platform is visible, partly visible right here where my index finger is. See, topping the wooden poles, you'll see it. Now, locally, this wooden platform is known as zatterone. Now, in Italian, the word zattera stands for raft. So, zatterone is literally big raft, simple. And this is called big raft because it's exactly what it says. So just imagine a broad timber platform topping the many wooden poles. At that point, you can lay down bricks, etc., etc., etc. Now, quite frequently they ask me, what happens to the wood? Nothing. The wood doesn't rot. The wooden poles and the timber platform are not in the water. They are in the subsoil. So they are underground. They are in the mud. And so they don't rot because there is no oxygen in the mud. No oxygen means no bacteria. So they don't rot, and actually little by little the wooden poles start petrifying, and so little by little they become rock solid. Now nothing lasts forever, but scholars claim they are virtually everlasting, which is quite impressive. And another typical question is how many wooden poles? And nobody knows because they are not visible, they are in subsoil. But scholars claim that it is something between 10 and 12 millions, which is quite remarkable. So the city is still here because it's built on a sort of enormous sunken forest. And it's even more remarkable if you consider that centuries ago they didn't have our kind of technology. So now we use machines in order to drive those wooden poles into the mud. But let me show you a couple of things. On the internet I found two black and white photos. They're just black and white, but they should be enough to give you a visual idea of what I'm saying. See, it's just black and white, but these are the wooden poles that I was talking about. See how many. So when I was saying that it's a forest, it is a forest. This is just to persuade you that I wasn't making this up. When I was saying that it's a forest, well, it really is. And this is just for one single building. Can you just imagine how many wooden poles? And I really like the following photo. This is a sort of human pile driver. See, it is really impressive. Now, what you see here is a human pile driver. A pile driver, properly speaking. He is driving a wooden pole into the mud, and in order to do so, he is using a sort of enormous hammer that you see up here. Bang, 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 bang. This is exactly the kind of guy you don't want to mess. The very last thing, and then we'll go to the Rialto, and you'll be free in 10 minutes. Why would you build a city here? I mean, it is so incredibly complicated and costly that it would seem really unreasonable at first, but clearly there is a reason why Venice is right here. The reason has to do with the origins of Venice itself. In a nutshell, the history of Venice began after the fall of Rome. So in the 5th century AD, Rome fell. When Rome fell, mainland Italy was invaded by barbarian hordes, Huns, Goths, Lombards, etc. The barbarians occupied the mainland. At that point, those who lived along the coast overlooking the lagoon of Venice looked for a refuge here because they wanted to be free. The only free and impregnable land was a cluster of marshy islands right in the middle of the lagoon. The lagoon was and still is a treacherous place because the lagoon is a maze of canals, but it is really shallow, and between the canals is a myriad of mudbanks and sandbars. Now, if you catch a gondola or a water bus or a water taxi, you'll see wooden poles in the water everywhere. And you'll see that all the boats follow them because they show us where the canals are. If you don't follow them, 100% sure that in a moment you'll hit one of the many mudbanks. Clearly, centuries ago, those wooden poles that we now see in the water were not there. So navigating here was really hard. Plus, those barbarian tribes were, well, the barbarians were not really good sailors. So the lagoon was chosen because the lagoon was impregnable. It was a sort of natural fortress, and it kept the barbarians far away from Venice. This is why the city was built here. And you know, what is truly impressive is that this is now a spectacular city. We have seen gold, we have seen marbles. Originally, Venice must have looked like this. This is Venice in around the 5th century AD, that is when the first settlers fleeing the barbarians came here. So centuries ago, this fantastic city was a swamp. That swamp became the wealthiest European city later on. So if you consider that this was our starting point, we have made some progress. We're still quite proud. Sorry? We'll get to the Rialto in 10 minutes. Be brave because it's going to be really crowded. Don't get lost.